my head.
Oh my goodness.
Look
Wow.
at this beautiful flower.
Yep.
I came over here to the computer and this was here next to it. Put it in my hair.
Nice.
It's too big.
As big as your head.
Oh, I know, it is as big as my head.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. All right, Seahorse wants to remain anonymous unless Seahorse is actually not listening.
Possible.
All right. Okay, so since we're delayed, I'm just going to say a short prayer before we get started. Oh, Tankashala, great spirit, great mystery, creator. Don't just really appreciate this time to gather in this space here and now. Thank you for the teachers and the mentors that I've had in my earth walk. I thank you for the opportunity to share what I have learned from some of these teachers and mentors, what I have learned about medicine wheels and earth grids. Blessing everyone. As Grey Wolf mentioned, there are some in ceremony in Mount Shasta, which is where I'll be heading by the end of the week. And everywhere, we thank all the light workers, all the beautiful, amazing humans, the souls that are answering the call of our Earth Mother to continue ceremony, continue with dance, song, with prayer, to elevate the frequencies and vibration needed at this time to assist in stabilizing and balancing areas around Pachamama that are out of balance and in disharmony. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aha. Okay, so we have a mysterious seahorse in our midst. And yeah, do we have relatives from Pine Ridge joining us tonight?
We do. I'm, pardon me, I'm in the process of bringing them into my phone.
Okay.
We're having some phone issues this week.
Aloha, Aloha, Christopher.
We got a Kiwi.
We have a Kiwi. I just did the opening prayer, so I am, yeah, we had some interesting delay. We had an interesting delay. So thank you for joining us today. Ya'ak Day and welcome our relatives from Pine Ridge. Well, first and foremost, I want to speak this, that to be transparent, I am not an expert in medicine wheels or earth grids. I am only sharing what I have been taught by my teachers and mentors, and also following guidance from spirit in terms of the medicine wheels, how many stones for the wheels, and in what kind of configuration. Same with the crystals. And what I'm going to share today is a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of information. You know, for those of you who may just be starting to work with crystals and how to utilize them as grids, and what the benefits of having these grids in place can do for your living space, for your town, for Mother Earth. There's many ways and benefits that crystals can be used. Aloha, Grass Dancer. She knows all about crystals, that one. Watch out for her. So I just want to go ahead and chime in and just kind of give you aloha, sister.
Aloha.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm in Santa Barbara right now.
Wow.
I know, I'm on my way up to Shasta by the weekend.
Oh my.
I know. So,
Nice.
this beautiful sister has gifted me many crystals, you know, knowing how I've worked with the crystals, and I'm just getting ready to talk about the earth grids. She's just a beautiful being that I'm so grateful to have her in my life now. You know, she started stalking me on Instagram first.
Oh, oh boy.
And then we just started this beautiful dance, you know, just chatting back and forth. And then we finally saw each other in person out there in Prescott. And then she followed me and stalked me again last time I was out in San Diego.
True story. True story.
No, it's I'm really grateful for our connection.
I am too.
Every time that I get to see you or talk to you, you just bring that aloha back to me in my heart, and you know how much I miss the Aina and all the beauty. Yeah. So, all
How
right.
come?
So, just want to share a little bit, you know, about my teacher, Rainbow Thunderheart. Some knew him by that name, some knew him as Bovado, or even Benny LeBeau. So my journey with the crystal grids started back in the spring of 2015, when I had met Rainbow Thunderheart at an event in LA, of all places, in this huge, huge building, like a convention center in LA. And he had a medicine wheel on the floor. And keep in mind, we were surrounded by hundreds of people at this event near LAX. And he was talking about the medicine wheel and invited us to place our sacred items around the wheel. And it was very, just very auspicious, you know, how the connection came into play amongst all the vendors in this convention center. And here's this native guy with this ginormous crystal grid on the floor. You know, of course, everyone's going to be curious and want to know these big pillars of crystal quartz and smoky quartz and rose quartz and these massive rocks and these selenite pillars and just like massive, right? And so we were very intrigued about his teaching and like, who is he? Where did he come from? And what's he doing here? You know, so after that, we quickly became friends and started working together at other gatherings. And shortly after this, I received a vision in my dream time of a mandala. And when I awoke, I quickly drew this mandala on paper, you know, I didn't want to forget. And I drew it with colored pencils. Now, the only thing I knew that it was very powerful, but I didn't know what it was for or what to do with it. And so I called Rainbow Thunderheart and I described to him this mandala. And I sent him a copy, you know, I took a of the drawing, you know, and then he's on the phone and it was kind of like, duh, it's an earth grid, right? And I'm like, well, I didn't say it literally, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, duh, I don't know this. To you, it makes complete sense. To me, I don't know what this is. So he did say that it was an earth grid, and he did say that it was a very powerful grid. And so after showing him this drawing, he started inviting me to work with the medicine wheels with him by placing the grid that came to me in my dream time in the center. And then he would build this amazing giant medicine wheel around it. Now, medicine wheels can be utilized in different ways, such as creating balance within an area, that helps heal Earth's sacred sites. Sacred sites are charging stations, charging the Earth with electrical current. Two energies are spinning, one to the left and one to the right, right? So it's simultaneously working like a conductor. The energy that gives power to these is in the center, the creator energy, where the vortex spins. Aloha, beautiful sister in New York. Woot woot. Okay, so when you put into the spinning energy any thoughts, prayers, intentional words, they come into being. Okay, so it's spinning it and casting it out into the universe. So you know, it was really sad news when I heard that Rainbow Thunderheart, when he had passed. I was actually living in Sedona my first go around. And when I heard that he had crossed over into the spirit world, he actually started reaching out and connecting with other individuals that had the honor of meeting him in their journey as well. And they were sharing with me how he was working with them, teaching still in spirit, how to utilize the grids and what to do with them and where to put them and such like that. And so he had been working diligently in the spirit world and letting us know that back then that it was time to continue his work. And before my work had ended in Sedona 8 years ago, I tuned in and checked with spirit to ask if this was my calling at the time. And I got a big confirmation, yes. So this grid that came to me, it traveled with me many places. Now, I don't know how to do, you know, screen sharing, so we didn't upload pictures, but I will show you. This is a picture of the Earth grid that came to me in dream time. Let's see, let me slide that over. And then this is an example of how Rainbow Thunderheart would build around the Earth grid that's in the center. And you can see a couple of crystal skulls. The rose quartz one traveled with me for about 1.5 years and then went back to her guardian. But here's an example on how to use, or what an Earth grid / medicine wheel can look like. And so the smaller stones in the center are the grid that came to me in dream time. And then he built around it with massive pillars. You can see those pillars of clear quartz crystal and selenite, and he's got some other crystals surrounding on the exterior of that main medicine wheel. And just to give you an example also, this grid here, this is the actual grid that came to me in dream time. Now this, I was guided by spirit to go up into the mountains in Palomar Mountain, which is North County, San Diego, and put this grid down. Now I'm going to tell you in a moment, when I was guided to put the grids down in this fashion, what they do. I'll tell you in just a moment. But here's another version also. Here's the grid in the center. And then there's the selenite pillars around. So again, there's different ways of putting up a grid, medicine wheel. There is no right or wrong way to put them up when you're listening and tuning in, right? And following guidance. So we can create medicine wheels to anchor in the energies for great health, love, honor, trust, respect, and integrity, for nature's benefit and the benefit of humanity, in all our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, and words. So one benefit that can come to you when you're working with the crystals, and you can put them on your coffee table, on your nightstand next to your bed. They don't have to be grand. They can be very simple and small. I have a dragon earth grid near my front door where I live. I feel that energy is protecting my home with I have a rose quartz dragon head in the center of that grid, but they can be utilized for protection. They can be utilized as I said, to bring in good fortune, to cultivate and bring in good health and love and honor and trust, respect. So the energy of the crystals, as you know, my dear sister, go by the name of Grass Dancer, and we know, indigenous peoples, we know everything has a spirit, right? So the crystals have a spirit. They are conscious beings, and they do talk, not with words, but it's more of an energetic receptivity, right? And they speak to us. And in my experience with working with the crystals over time, I started to be able to tune in and then ask them, what formation do you want to be in? What's going on? Like during the shutdown, those of you called it the COVID, right? I was on Maui. I was instructed by spirit to bring out the earth grid. But after using the earth grid in a mandala form that I had done for years, this time it was not to go down on the earth that way. It was to go down in a spiral formation, which has never been done before, but I listened. And they told me, put us down this way. And what we're going to do is we're going to neutralize by spinning. Once the crystals are down, they just energetically start spinning out all the low density, all the low dense vibrations, things like fear, spinning out, anger, and all the things that we were experiencing during those times, which was the fear, the anger, anxiety, depression, all those things that were coming up from the unknown. People didn't know. None of us knew what the outcome was going to be. None of us knew how long this was going to take. None of us knew nothing. And they weren't telling us much either. So just wanted to share just a little bit, and you will be invited to ask questions. Absolutely. So just hang in there with me. So the medicine wheels. The first time that I started working with medicine wheels, or being asked to work with medicine wheels, I was more of an observer for a long while. And in not growing up with indigenous culture, I didn't know anything about medicine wheels at all. And then, spirit started sending me teachers, and I would listen and pay attention and observe and watch. And medicine wheels, a lot like the earth grids, they are used to bring balance and harmony into places that are out of balance and in disharmony. But also, medicine wheels are a place for people to gather in prayer, in ceremony, utilizing the energy of the medicine wheel, which also is a representation of the four directions, also the four colors, the white, the black, the yellow, and the red. So medicine wheels can be used for celebration, like perhaps maybe also for harvesting, when it's harvest time. And we pray for the planting of the seeds to bring in food for the communities, right? Or when I say celebration, I mean like maybe a birth of a child, right? And coming in together in prayer. the elders would come and pray around a medicine wheel, you know, come together and pray. Maybe it's you know, not for harvest time. Maybe something's happening within their community, and back in the days it'd be for in their tribes, and coming together, the elders, and coming to pray and pray. And Gray Wolf, would you say they would even come around the medicine wheel with their chanupas, with their pipes?
Yeah, absolutely. And we still do. Actually, last week I led a pipe ceremony at a medicine wheel right here in Cornville. So that is one of the, pardon me, one of the uses. It's also an interesting thing with medicine wheels that I experienced directly. And I was just doing back and forth with some of our friends at Pine Ridge. We've got 14 with us there today, and I welcome them. The medicine wheel, from those who know, and some of my teachers told me this, they were actually the first internet as well. They were connected all around the globe. And it's really interesting because if you go to the medicine wheels in other parts of the world, they're very, very similar. I was there when they opened one in Belize. There they open things as they have money, just one thing at a time. And one of my Belizean friends called me down and said, Jim, come and watch this. And it was an enormous one, right in the middle of what was one of their old towns. And it was remarkably similar to what I would find here if I went right down the road. The only difference is where they put different animals in the directions. The colors were the same. They had a green center, was a little different. So the teaching is, and I've heard, and when I get near a powerful medicine wheel, I can hear voices. I don't usually talk about that because somebody will come with a net, but I definitely feel the ancestors when I'm near a medicine wheel. And the one we opened last week was a very powerful one here. Stick in the middle.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Now, I asked Gray Wolf about the chanupa because he is a pipe carrier. And so I didn't want to assume, but I figure if anybody who would know, it would be him. So, and thank you for doing that work last week. Yeah, so I have more to share regarding my experiences with the earth grids. And again, I'll open it up for anybody who has, Seahorse, that's my hostess. I'm here in Santa Barbara. We were like, Seahorse, who's a seahorse? Anonymous seahorse. All right, so just circling back around, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the medicine wheels, but circling back around, just I want to make sure, you know, for those of you who are curious, or those of you who have an idea but not quite sure, again, I don't claim to be an expert in medicine wheels or earth grids, but just sharing my experiences and how I've worked with them by listening to Spirit's guidance, listening to our Earth Mother, and listening to the crystals. So crystal grids are arrangements of crystals or stones. There have been times when I have interconnected both, using stones along with crystals side by side when creating these medicine wheels. And what they do is they create a continuous flow of energy for a specific purpose. Again, setting your intention. What is this for? So back when I was told by Spirit and the crystals, don't put me in a mandala formation, put me down in a spiral formation, because this is going to help neutralize all the fear and anxiety and anger, what was happening during our shutdown, during COVID time. And that's how that came about. Intention, right? Specific purpose. And crystals, they are used for healing and manifestation, both on a personal level and a global, and maybe even more on a universal scale as well. They are often used to magnify, focus, and or prolong a treatment using energy work such as Reiki. Those of you who are massage therapists, you know, or energy healers and Reiki workers. So some grids are circles, and others are based on sacred geometry, like the flower of life, the Merkaba, or even other symbols. Again, there is no right or wrong on creating a grid, as long as you are tuning into what it is you're being asked to, how you're being asked to utilize these grids. But if you already have a specific intention, based on the intention, just ask your divine inner self or spirit or the crystals, what formation, based on the intention I'm setting, what formation would best serve enhancing or magnifying this intention that I'm setting. Grids can be large structures placed on the ground. Examples, Stonehenge, labyrinths, and Native American medicine wheels. And grids are also can be placed on people, right? Reiki and energy practitioners out there. If you place them on a person while you are doing your magic over them, it enhances and amplifies the work that you're doing, because the energy of the crystals is working tandemly with what you're doing. So on a person during a healing session. And the crystal grids, if you've experienced them, if you've ever seen them, the one that I've worked with, dedicated primarily to healing the earth. And like I shared in the beginning, that Rainbow Thunderheart, when I shared with him the image of the mandala that I came to me in dream time that I drew out, he automatically knew that was an earth grid. And that's why I traveled with it. And I did travel many places and numerous times up to Mount Shasta before I moved to Maui. Mount Shasta would call me numerous times to come with the grid to shift the energy around the mountain, because like many PowerPoints, sacred sites, vortexes on the planet, as there is the light, there is the dark. There are beings who misuse the energies of these sacred sites, these PowerPoints, these vortexes, for their dark work. That does to this day still happen in Mount Shasta. I'm not going to go into detail because I know a couple of you on here that are very sensitive to information. So I'll just say that much. And that I was called there to go clear out that negative dark energy. Not just myself, though. As light workers, we're constantly moving around, cleansing and purifying all areas around all of Mother Earth, especially the sacred sites. I haven't been called yet to Egypt or Machu Picchu, but I have other light worker friends that's their assignment. That's where they get called to, clearing out the energies. My coordinates are on the West Coast, and I've been going up and down from San Diego to Mount Shasta for years. And then I was sent over to Maui for 4 years and working with the energy of the Aina and comforting her and soothing her with the crystal grid that I took with me out there. So again, many uses. Also, I was asked to construct a very large grid in Colorado that goes from Golden, Colorado, all the way up to Lyons. We're talking, I don't know how many miles that is. So it went from Golden to Lyons, and then St. Vrain watershed to the White Mountains. I forget what the exact name is, but that took quite a team. I put together a team because that grid was quite large. You're talking in a circumference of hundreds of miles. Again, they can be very small, placed on your nightstand, or very massive. That one was a download from Spirit and our Earth Mother that this is what was needed at that time. And so I called my Mexica sister, Yoloteo. I called Cochise Baca, who is Apache, and I remember there was a firekeeper that I asked to assist because he was really good at coordinates. So we had to make it specific, right? We used a compass every time in constructing a medicine wheel. We always use a compass because the coordinates have to be exact. You know, north, east, south, west. And before I get off track, I just want to finish sharing about the that particular medicine wheel or earth grid, excuse me. So in those points of northeast, south, and west, quite vast, and it took a year because we had to wait for the snow to melt back in the White Mountains. And that grid, we were asked to bury some of the crystals into the riverbed. So at the time, the riverbed was low in the St. Vrain watershed area, but we were specifically told to get up before dawn, be out there by dawn, and we had to put these crystals and in each point, there were Merkabahs involved, Merkabah crystals. Now we used different ones. We either used rose quartz or clear quartz, or sometimes we would use hematite or pyrite or something, whatever we were called upon to utilize in terms of the crystals, because the different crystals produce different energies. And for that particular grid, it was specific, but at this moment, I don't remember exactly all the crystals we used. So in each point we dug out, and in that one at the St. Vrain watershed, we were told to go out onto the sand lot in the middle, which we got a little bit wet, but it wasn't too much. And we went in the middle because I shared with my team that we had to put it in there because when the rivers start flowing, then the water, the energy of the water would magnify that particular location. And it was important because at that time, it was just after Standing Rock. It was after Standing Rock. So we were still very much in that, mini Wachoni, water is life, and fighting for the rights of the water, fighting for the pipeline to not go into the earth, because there was already a huge history of these pipelines breaking and contaminating the waters in where they were allowed to be put into the earth. So at that time, this particular grid was super important because of, I don't like to use the word fight or battle, but because of the intensity of the prayers and the intensity of Gray Wolf, can you help me out? Because you were at Standing Rock. Can you chime in?
Yeah, go ahead. Bring me up to where you are. Let me see what comes.
I was trying to put into dialogue why this particular grid in Colorado was so important, and why especially the location at the St. Vrain watershed. This was after Standing Rock, and why it was so important because of what was happening. But I was expressing that I didn't want to use the word fight or battle. We know that's what was happening at Standing Rock, but I didn't want to use those words.
Yeah, no, that's good, because no, we did not fight. We did not battle. We peacefully stood our ground. And that was from day one, from LaDonna and some of the others. That's what was expected. It was, as we came out of Standing Rock, water is life became more of an issue, because Standing Rock was just one little place, and we knew that, and this was a global movement. We were very careful with our words. We still are. And that's part of what I'm getting from the relatives who are listening and saying, hey, we got questions. That to remember Standing Rock was global, not local. So when we were there were even groups who wanted to go angry, wanted to go into the warrior mode. and they were literally asked to leave respectfully, but they were told if they were going to be there, they had to go somewhere else. They couldn't be in either of the camps, the main camp or the Donna's camp where I was. So, yeah, we were very, very careful with that. Another thing, which I'll throw in here because I think you can weave it into the same thing. Tom up there in Pine Ridge said to remember when you were talking about all the crystals, when science took the natural technology of the indigenous people and started making things, some of the first things they made to broadcast sound used crystals. All the first radios were crystals. So they actually paid attention and used some of the natural things until they decided they could, create things that were better or different.
Mhm. Yeah, and also, these high-end expensive watches use crystals in
Yes.
watches. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Rolex.
many other things that crystals have been used for. Like they said, our relatives in Pine Ridge, they said that science took something from our Earth Mother, something natural and organic, and started using them, of course, for what? Profit. But we're not going to go into that. So I'll just finish talking a little bit more here about the crystal grid. So the creation of a crystal grid begins with the intention to use the elements from Mother Earth to focus energy for healing. So that is interesting what we just ended with, how man has taken these crystals to use them in objects, for profit, when the main focus has always been for energy for healing. Allowing your creative intuition to guide you, crystal stones or other symbols or objects are selected and placed to generate an energy grid useful, that word, useful to Mother Earth as she realigns her energetic grid, which is still ongoing. And these grids typically end up being a work of art that is both functional and excuse me, enchantingly beautiful. Those who are drawn to make them often receive guidance, even when they are not aware of it. And I just want to emphasize, excuse me, that there is no wrong or right way to make a crystal grid. And again, some people can place grids directly you can place them on the ground or on a table. One time when I was asked to go take a crystal grid to Mount Shasta, it was snowing, it was winter time. And there was no way to get up to the mountain to put a grid down, especially without losing the crystals in the snow. So I tuned in and listened to Spirit. Spirit said, in the home where I was staying, there was a giant dining table. Spirit said, clear everything off that table and put the grid on the table. Because where this house was situated, you could actually see the top of Mount Shasta, the very top, from their bay window. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because crystals are energy, just like everything else. And so the energy, as long as the crystal grid was in place in the formation that it wanted to be in, it was still going to work even from 30 miles away, however long distance that was. And so I put the grid down, and then I asked, is there anything else that needs to be a part of this grid? And so the gentleman whose house we were staying at, he happened to have Andaras. Andara crystals are very rare now because there's no more in the earth, at least to our knowledge. Now, their first original Andaras, I forget the elder's name, but she passed away, and she, on her property, discovered these Andara crystals. They're worth lots of money. So I took some of the Andaras and built around this crystal grid that was on the dining table, and took some animal figures that I had and some that were on display in his home, Now, the animal figures were also a representation of specific things at that time. So that the animal elements, the Andaras, and I think we even put feathers on this grid. You know, there was all kinds of beautiful elements, and the grid stood in place for 8 days. After the 8th day, the grid spoke to me and said, "We are done. You can put us away now." And I actually was quite surprised. That was the first time I really ever heard something that at that level from these crystal grids. So I was like, what? This grid just talked to me and it told me, it's done. Put me away now. So again, tuning in and listening with heart, listening, feeling the energy and the vibration. So absolutely, crystals and stones can be utilized together. I've been guided to work with them on numerous occasions. And let's see. So crystals, stones, and other objects can be placed directly on the base surface, or the base can be filled with sand, filled with earth, small pebbles, or other natural materials. And grids are often made with clear quartz crystals alone because of the capacity of quartz crystals to amplify energy. Other grids use a combination of quartz and other stones, as I showed you in the mandala that came to me in dream time. And crystals, and some may not use quartz at all. So a medicine wheel. So there was one time when I was asked to, well, there's a few times, but this one time that I was asked to come and construct a medicine wheel. It was at a festival in the Desert Hot Springs. And this was a much different medicine wheel that I had created up until that point, that I had constructed. And one that it was, I think I've seen one maybe this way once before, but I will say that it's not common. But in this particular medicine wheel, and I wish I had a picture, I'm so sorry. I'm traveling, so I came best prepared as I could. That this particular medicine wheel had an entrance to the east side, to the east gate. And it had this east gate entrance so that people can come through the medicine wheel. And if they chose to leave any offerings in the center, or if they wanted to sit in the center and meditate, they could. Because at this festival, we wanted all to feel welcome at the medicine wheel, that it wasn't just for people who were indigenous, because there is no separation, right? There is no separation. We are the oneness. And it's for all, it's for everyone. And so we wanted people to know that they were welcome at this medicine wheel, to put down their own prayers, to set their own intentions. And we took that up a notch by creating this pathway to the center, so that they could utilize the energy of the wheel for whatever it was that they needed in their lives at that time. So that's the only one time that I ever constructed a medicine wheel that had a center opening like that. Now, a different time, while Chief Golden Light Eagle was still with us, I was guided to construct a medicine wheel at the Desert Hot Springs. This one was for the Star Knowledge 20th anniversary, in conjunction with Star Knowledge and Earth Shift Conference, their first, and they merged together for the first time ever. And my first experience meeting Chief Golden Light Eagle, I had gone out of the convention center and walked over to the grass area where my team, I had another team because this was a large wheel, and we're just checking on the medicine wheel and seeing how my helpers were doing, because we were in a public place. I wanted to make sure that it was safe for the most part, because people, the silly humans can tend to be disrespectful. And yeah, so I was standing there watching, and here comes Chief Golden Light Eagle in his whole regalia with his war bonnet and everything. And he stood next to me, and I was quite intimidated because here's this grand chief that I didn't know exactly who he was, but I knew he was a big deal. Just the way everyone else was looking at him and talking with him. And he's standing next to me, and he kind of, like natives do, pointed with his face, his nose. This you? I said, uh-huh, yes. He goes, good work. Now, Gray Wolf has sat in Sweat Lodge with Chief, so he knows Chief's demeanor when I speak that way about him. He was also Hayoka, coyote energy. But Chief, he was, so I was like, wow, you know, here I am a little bit starstruck, to be honest. And I'm like, wow, Chief said that I did good. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. You know, to get that confirmation from someone who's written at that time, I think like 20 books about extraterrestrials and the starships and our connection to the star beings and such, and the following that he had, for him to say I did a good job, you know, and it wasn't just me, of course, but this was the vision that I received and how to put it together. And it was a traditional wheel. And then he gave me that, hey, good job. And then he said, walk with me. And then I walked with him back up to the convention center. So when we're guided, when we're being asked, I feel sometimes spirit is a messenger for our Earth Mother if we're not getting that direct message from her. This medicine wheel, this one in particular, it was not brought there as a decoration, nor have they ever been since I've been working with them. Neither have the crystal grids. Never been like to beautify a place. It's always had a function. And I'm hoping that this one medicine wheel that's over by Joshua Tree, over near Garth's place, that one was huge. That required a team that I just pulled volunteers from the festival to help me build this. And I hope it's still there because it has a specific function. In Mount Shasta, you can find medicine wheels all up and down different side roads like Bunny Flats, lower Bunny Flats, and upper and around the mountains, that they put these medicine wheels down and leave them there for a reason, because these medicine wheels help neutralize and shift the energy to help anchor in the frequencies from the cosmos. Even there have been times when I used to go to Shasta and I would ask permission. This one trail that led to a very large medicine wheel that I knew of, that many locals would use the wheel for ceremonies, for their retreats and such. And I remember taking a couple of clients who had just got back from a Burning Man, and many burners go to Mount Shasta to decompress after all that. There's lots of energies at Burning Man. I've been twice. The first time was for the power of prayer. And I talked to my friend Synergy about that yesterday, because he was there also tending fire. But people need a safe haven to go, a sanctuary, a place where they feel safe, a place where they know that they can receive a cleansing or purification or their prayers answered. The medicine wheels have always, especially to indigenous peoples, and when I say indigenous peoples, I'm not talking just to the natives of North America, because as Jim spoke earlier on, in Belize, they were constructing wheels very similar to the wheels here in North America's in Turtle Island. And so people know that these are very powerful and they're healing, and they can be used to benefit in so many ways. an individual, a community, the earth, the waters, in so many ways. I have been at least 3 times to put a grid in water for the healing of the waters. One time I was asked by Spirit to go do a ceremony at the Eel River near Sacramento. At that time, the river was flowing backwards. It was detrimental to the tribes that fish from that river because the river would bring the salmon for the people to eat. And if the river was flowing backwards, that means the salmon were not flowing. That means these people are going to go hungry. And so that's when I showed you in the beginning of the rose quartz skull, when she traveled with me, she would often want to be placed in the body of water. And at that particular river, the Eel River, she was placed and wanted to go in the water. And I would do my little ceremony and drum and sing to the waters on the shore. But tandemly, we would work together to help heal the river so that it would start flowing in its natural course, so it could start bringing the salmon again to those who relied on the salmon for protein, for food. So that was my one experience of putting crystals in the water to help activate, charge, heal, whatever was needed at the time. And so I encourage you, you know, if you have been feeling a call to work with crystals but didn't know quite how or what to do with them, just to meditate, you know, maybe take that sack of crystals and put them next to your bedside and ask to connect, ask the crystals to connect with you. Ask them before you fall asleep, like, how do you want me to work with you? For those of you who are body workers, you know, Reiki, massage, I would encourage you to start utilizing the energy of crystals more, or if you haven't at all, start using them with your clients, because all the crystals are going to do is magnify the work that you are already offering and giving to your client. And it's going to, on an energetic level, you know, say you have 5 clients and they're, you know, 90-minute, 2-hour sessions. By the end of the day, you're wiped out. Well, think about if you have crystals assisting you, they are your assistant. So then you're not having to work as hard physically. And then you're not so drained at the end of the day. Then you have more energy for yourself. As an example. You know, sometimes you might see, if you go on Google and say crystal grids, you know, I've seen how practitioners have used crystals to put on people's third eyes. Maybe they're having issues with their heart. You know, you would place certain crystals over their heart while you're working on them, or maybe even, you know, using crystal wands as pressure point, acupressure on certain areas, you know. So think about all the many uses that you can benefit from using crystals in different ways. You know, there's some crystals that help with headaches. There's some crystals that help with fertility. There's some crystals that help with joint pains, you know, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And we all know about crystals to help keep negative energies away. Right? Not just garlic works good for that, but crystals as well, you know, blue kyanite, black tourmaline, selenite, and there's a few more. Gosh, let's see. Oh, we're doing great. So unless anything else comes to mind, not at the moment, but if it does, I will share with you further. But at this time, so I would like to open it up to any questions.
Yep.
And if I can't answer the question, I may direct it to Grey Wolf. Now, I do know that there are some relatives in Pine Ridge that also have questions. So how we do this is you either raise your hand, or under your more button, there's supposed to be a hand to raise as well. And so that gives you the opportunity to speak. And when you're done speaking, just say talking stick in the middle, and then whoever's next will go.
So, yeah, there's a number of questions from, and comments from Pine Ridge. And some of them had to leave because it got late. So they're still leaving the questions and then they will ask the others who were there what the answers were.
Okay,
And one of them was, well, let me throw a couple of them out there and you can do what you want with them. You talked about Chief Golden Lady Eagle. And a lot of them knew Chief as well. And yes, we did a lot of lodges together. He often came up to my lodge in Colorado and we took turns. And he was such a stoic, sacred person. And he called me Wolf of the Oceans and I called him Whale of the Land. So we just kidded each other all the time. He was not a real, he was fun. He was a Heyoka. But one of the things I remember we talked about a lot, and some of the folks at Pine Ridge just brought it up, the medicine wheel is also the floor of the sweat lodge. And when you build your sweat lodge, you have your door for most tribes, you have your door facing out to the east, which is also the east of the medicine wheel. So that you're starting and bringing your rocks in and starting your ceremonies in the new beginnings. So if you think about it, the medicine wheel sits flat on the ground. A sweat lodge could be like right on top of that. Combined, they're a really powerful component because both ceremonies came from White Buffalo calf woman. But one of the questions they were asking you, because you mentioned Hawaii, if there were medicine wheels in Hawaii and were they the same or different than what we find here in the Turtle Island?
Okay, so I personally never came across a medicine wheel on Maui, but I was asked to put down a grid. And again, the coordinates were specific and the anchoring point was Haleakala. Haleakala is right in the middle of the island. So no, and I actually, when I first moved, my first year living there, I was reaching out to community because there were people that had large parcels of land. And I really felt strongly to put down a medicine wheel, but it never came into fruition. I did scope out a couple of properties, but the property owners were very wishy-washy and I didn't get a solid yes. And you know, the issues were because we're on an island, the growth of vegetation, someone would have to maintain the area where the wheel would be. So that was one issue. Who's going to caretake it? Who's going to come and pull the weeds? Who's going to come and, right? So there wasn't an area where there was just dirt like we can find in Arizona, where it's easy to put down a medicine wheel because of the landscape of the land. And the jungle areas of Maui, it wasn't so easy. So those were the primary issues that would come up, why we didn't put down a medicine wheel. So again, tuning in and asking spirit, what do we do? We're here to assist Mama Maui energetically. So the things that I observed in my first few months living there were a high rate of juvenile suicide, methamphetamine use, abuse and suppression of women, and the disrespect not only to the Kanaka, the locals, but the Aina itself. So talk about out of balance, talk about disharmony, right? So this grid that we ended up putting down covered the whole island. And we didn't have to close it up like a medicine wheel would be, connecting stone to stone, rock to rock. We anchored in north, east, southwest, and then the anchoring center was up in Haleakala.
Cool. So we're getting from Tom up there that they've been approached at times by people in Australia as well. And they've not heard of any medicine wheels in Australia, but they have talking circles for prayers around the globe, around the large rocks. So maybe some of these places have similar things, but different names. I don't know that. Most places I've gone, I've found medicine wheels. Not
Mhm.
all. I never found one on Hawaii either. I looked. So,
Yeah, now they do have meetings on the islands.
yeah,
I have, I have a brother who gets asked to come to Kauai quite often because he's a roadman. And he gets called quite often there and back to Maui on occasion too, to run a meeting. Um, peyote, that's what that is.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
mhm, um, oh, I had a thought and then just lost my thought. Yep, had it and it left. Anyone else have any questions? Or yes,
Hi, can you hear me?
Crystal.
Okay, beautiful. Hi, everybody. Maybe you've touched upon this already, but what are, in your opinion, some of the responsibilities of the people putting down these crystal grids and medicine wheels? Because, like, is there, because it not just in putting them down, but then after, is there like an energetic responsibility of oneself in order to keep those areas activated? Or is it you just, you put them down and then they kind of do their own work? Because we've buried a couple of crystals up here in upstate New York and around these areas. And I have, maybe it's my own belief, but I feel that when I'm doing good, that all of those crystals that I've laid down are also more empowered. But that could just be my own, ego. But I was just curious of the responsibility and the influence that we have in placing these sacred sites.
Yeah,
And
that's a great question. Are you
Mhm.
shaking your head, Gray Wolf? Do you want to answer to that?
I can some, yeah, I mean, you are supposed to, when you lead the building of a medicine wheel, you're supposed to stay connected to it. Now, I mean, I guess if you leave geographically, then you try to find someone else to be the lead person. And if in the past, when a lot of the tribes are nomadic, when they left an area, the medicine wheel was one of the things that was dismantled. And often the rocks were taken with them to the next location. I know a lot of the Plains tribes did that. And then they would recreate it where they were. It should not just be abandoned. Yeah, my dogs like it. I have run across some old ones. And of course, you have a lot of people who start building medicine wheels and they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're just putting rocks in a circle. Not that that's necessarily wrong unless they proclaim them to be medicine wheels with power. Like you were feeling, that's not unusual. And I don't think it's your ego. If you go in there in a good way and you're using it in a good way, or someone's leading it and knows what they're doing, you're going to feel those things. I told you, I hear ancestors talking and they haven't locked me up yet. So just go with your heart. It's not brain work. Go in with your heart.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. So, when I've worked with the crystal grid, I I've always, tuned in, and when it's complete, then I would give all the crystals, I would break it down, right? Dismantle it and give them a good washing, right? And soak them in sea salt, soak them in the sun, and then put them away in their pouches respectfully. And just put them away until they're ready to be used again. So energetically, in my experience with the crystals, that's what I've been guided to do. Now, I want to backpedal a little bit about a medicine wheel. So the first time I was still living in Colorado, but Spirit said you need to go to Cave Creek and you're gonna construct a medicine wheel. And I thought my assignment was only 1 month. I ended up being there 3 months and I had to live behind 6 bars and 2 rodeos in a trailer. That was tense. Because in a trailer, you got pretty much no walls. And I lived behind Harold's Bar. So, I threw a fit a little bit and I said, okay, fine, I'm going. And I went to, so the Verde River flows all the way out there. It's a very massive river. And so I went to the riverbed. I asked permission to pick up the stones. I asked which one of you want to come and be part of this medicine wheel? How many stones are coming? So there was 7 and there was 13. 7, 13, these kept coming up. And so it was really specific. And I brought the stones back and created this wheel. And at first I was, why do I have to be here? Can't I go live in Cave Creek or Carefree, which was just the next town over by 10 minutes? Can't I live there and just come and check on the wheel sometimes? Spirit was like, no. But after I was observing these birds that had these long beaks and they were picking the ground for their food, and they would knock the stones out of place. So then I realized I have to be there to make sure the stones get put back in place. So what I can tell you, I can tell you what I know, why the medicine wheel had to be there, because of the intensity of all those energies from the bars and the rodeos. And then let's not talk about Bike Week. That was crazy. Bikers Week, and all the craziness. So the wheel was activating to neutralize, right? Bring back harmony and balance into the space that was much needed at the time. I never even been to Cave Creek. So that was a thing. So then when that came to completion, I asked permission to bring the stones back with me to Colorado. And Spirit said yes. Now, in my experience, and I don't disagree with what Grey Wolf is saying and what the elders are saying in Pine Ridge, in terms of you're supposed to dismantle, like the our relatives did back in the day. But these particular medicine wheels that I worked with, I was told to leave them there so that they could actively still continue to work and cleanse and purify, except for the earth grid. That's still with me. But the other medicine wheels, no. And the one that I was given permission to take from Cave Creek and take back to Colorado, and we built this medicine wheel in the backyard. It came very useful and handy when we had to have a meeting around a woman's moon lodge at the Sundance that I'm going to throw him under the bus, that Doug Goodfeather gave us permission to do. And we were under attack in our camp. All we were doing, because the energy is so powerful at Sundance, women will start their moon cycle. Now, the Lakota people are pretty hardcore, the ones that I have experienced. And so before they gave us permission to have this moon camp, to nurture and take care of these women that started their cycle, they would tell them, go home, go home. You started your cycle, go, leave. You can't be here at Sundance. In my opinion, that was pretty harsh. Here's a woman in her prayer and she starts her cycle. Now she's got to cut that prayer and go home. So we were attacked by some of the others at Sundance, and we were threatened that they were going to tear down our moon camp. And we were all along saying we got permission from Doug Goodfeather to have this moon camp. He thought it was a great idea. The women that did come, they were so grateful that we had this safe haven for them just to be on their cycle, and we took care of them. We fed them, we bathed them, whatever they needed, we took care of them. And so after all that chaos, and Yoloteo, she was so distraught, and it really hurt her because she came with a good intention and a good heart. That medicine wheel came in handy to call a meeting about all of that. And we found out the source of the trickster who started terrible rumors of what we were doing over there. That's what we found out. And here's another way that the medicine wheel can be used to act as a neutralizer, right? Because you're creating this safe space that only the truth should and could come out. And those who are being called out in front of the medicine wheel, around the medicine wheel, you better hold yourself accountable. And so to us there and then, we knew that the medicine wheel was a sacred space. And we knew that this would be a good gathering space for the truth to come out. And so that's one example of another way a medicine wheel can be used. Now, because I was from there, Spirit said it's time to go to Maui. Of course, I couldn't take the wheel with me. So I actually left it in the backyard. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know anything. So, I mean, so it stayed.
And yeah, and you're right, some of them are that, some are anchoring wheels. Like the big one I saw in Belize, it was enormous. There's no way. The Bighorn medicine wheel up there in Montana, that's like 80 or 90 feet across. You're not going to move it easily. They're there to anchor the prayers of all the people. You're right. And I don't think there's too many of those, but I could be wrong.
Now, I want to chime in just real quick. You know, I was talking this morning, out in Ojai. We were talking about medicine wheels and such, ironically. Oh, because I was doing the presentation today. I said, oh, I'm going to be giving this presentation. You all should chime in. So I was talking about, there's also water medicine wheels. Now, there's a brother that used to go around just like Bovado, Rainbow Thunderheart did. And he would go around. There's a medicine wheel a water medicine wheel that he left in the desert just outside of Sedona off the 89A. We did a water medicine wheel on the beach in Venice, California. That one we didn't leave, but when he would leave the ones in other places, because the crystals, the way he worked with medicine wheels with water, he would dig holes, and again, like we did in Colorado, that he buried the crystals and there they stayed. And so I do know of that particular brother that would leave the crystal medicine wheels because it was a water medicine wheel. Now, if there was a significant difference, water versus stone, I couldn't tell you because, you know, I'm not in contact with him anymore. But that was the way he did the work with that. And then Rainbow Thunderheart, you were talking about Belize, and, you know, are there other medicine wheels and other cultures, other continents, but they're calling them by a different name? Quite possibly. But when I met Rainbow Thunderheart, he just got back from Europe sharing and teaching about medicine wheels there. So it's quite possible they have taken his teachings and started implementing them in Europe, like Germany and.
So
Yep.
I was in Medicine Mountain in Wyoming, just guided there, and they said it's been in continuous use for 10,000 years. It was
The big
it was no Medicine
No?
Mountain. It's not Bighorn. It's Wyoming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Medicine Mountain, and it's a 300 I don't know, it's 10,000 feet, and they say pilgrimages had been coming from since the ancient ones, the ancestors. It was amazing. Go.
Are you saying there's a medicine wheel up there and that's why they call it Medicine Mountain?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And they said it's been in continuous use for 10,000 years. So I don't know. It was wow. All your troubles just went away.
You
It
know,
was-
the labyrinths work the same way. You know, if any of you have ever, you know, before you walk in the labyrinth, you just start saying your prayers or your intentions. And as you're walking through the labyrinth, the medicine of the labyrinth, based on its configuration, amplifies, you know, your intention, your prayer, your thought, just as the round medicine wheels do. The labyrinths, wow, those are very powerful as well. And that's a form of a grid, not a what medicine wheel. I just want to clarify. Anyone else have any questions? And it's getting dark here.
Hey, I just want to take a minute because she came in while we were talking. But Erica Albright is here, and Erica is the new principal on the Sedona, what do we call ourselves? Sedona Institute of Shamanism. So hi,
Sedona
Erica.
Center for Shamanism. Hi.
That was close.
Hi.
Aloha.
Aloha. I hope you're having a wonderful time. Thank you for your share today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's been
Yeah, my pleasure.
it's been a minute. So,
Yeah, I was running around doing some travel, taking care of some family things, kind of working in the background with all of these changes with the Sedona Center and hoping to connect with you all a little bit more around that soon.
oh,
But it's
good. Yeah,
lovely to meet anyone I haven't.
maybe we should have a meeting like this.
Yeah, I think
For
that would be
those of
really
us who are
good.
still part of the Sedona Center for Shamanism. Yep. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of really good love and energy and community coming into that space and like letting it unfold as it's meant to is really important for me, and also making sure that we feel the community love that is building that environment.
That we feel supported.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All of us, we deserve it.
So is that Pine Ridge asking right now, Jim? No, that's an old one.
Which one?
Pine Ridge was asking for some more questions before they have to sign off.
Yeah, we got some of them, so they're happy.
Okay. Okay. Jim, does anyone have any more questions? Otherwise, I was gonna ask Jim to share a little bit about this Chanupa ceremony he had at the medicine wheel last week in Sedona or Cornville. Does anybody have any questions? Grass dancer?
Ole. No questions for me. You actually answered my question. I was
Oh.
going to ask about when you put down the grid work and the stones and the crystals that you work with. Do you actually leave them all there? And you had mentioned that sometimes, well, you most of the time when available, you're able to take it with, but sometimes it's just not available for you to take it. My question to you is, the one on Maui, was it left there?
Yes.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. And then just piggybacking on whether or not there are other medicine wheels or in other locations. So immediately what came to my mind, because, you know, Hawaii is my home, the heiau.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the heiaus?
I am, sister, but I don't think everyone else here is here. Do you have time to tell us?
I don't know much about it, except the reasons for it being constructed was in a ceremonious way, and it's all pohaku, it's all stone, right?
Mhm.
So maybe that's a form of their type of medicine.
Ah, I see what you're getting at. Like okay. Well, gosh, I have entered a couple of heiaus.
I won't go near them.
Yeah, on Maui. Well, because they're sacred sites, there's big ancestral presence in these.
Yes.
Yes. So the heiaus, my understanding is also where like the kahuna would go and pray. Okay, yeah. So a lot like our indigenous elders, our chiefs and medicine men and such would come around the medicine wheel in prayer. So the heiaus, but the heiaus are not round. the heiau, there actually is a door entrance in some, at least the one couple that I had been in. But we went there to give offerings. And the
Mm.
one time that we entered a heiau was to receive a blessing. So we went there with what they call a bundle, right?
Yes,
Made in
yes,
tea leaf and wrapped up, and there's gifts inside. And we give
correct.
offering because we went there to ask for a blessing for our travels to Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in that travel to Australia, I got a download from Spirit. It was me and two other women who I recruited. And the download was to go open the portal for the first leg of the Rainbow Bridge at Rainbow Falls. And so that was going to be a big assignment for me, one of the biggest ones I've ever had yet. And and so we were told by, you know, got downloads from Spirit. We are to wear hokules. We are to wear our garb, you know, and tie our sarongs on the side, and kind of like a representatives of Hawaii people, the Kanakas, in a sense. But we were coming with that aloha spirit, right, to Australia. But we felt strongly to go to this one particular heiau and ask for a blessing.
Oh,
And we did
nice.
receive it. We did receive a blessing from the ancestors.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So a
Beautiful.
heiau is like a square, mostly like square,
Mhm.
like our sisters has shared that they're rocks, and the rocks would stack up this way instead of one rock in a circle like we would a medicine wheel. These were stacked up, you know, not super high because you can walk over them to climb over them, whatever, and would typically have an opening. But only I want to say typically or usually only the kapunas or the kahunas are allowed to go inside, but we did get permission.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice. So my connection, bragging rights, I guess. So my maternal, on my maternal side, it's my mother's grandfather. He did a lot of the not excavation, but he did. If you look at Bishop Museum
Mhm.
and Kekahuna is the last name. He wrote all the material on a lot of it, of a lot of the heiaus. Yes,
Bishop Museum is on the island of Oahu.
Wow, yeah.
Those of
Correct.
you who don't know. Yeah.
There's,
So
there's a lot of
heiaus
other,
are very sacred. They're kapu. The Hawaiians say kapu. Kapu means sacred.
right.
yeah, there's a lot of other places that consider some of their sacred places also to be medicine wheels. One I was invited to a number of years back, and I went, and I brought my big drum, I brought my chanupa, my pipe, and we went in with a small number of people. And one of their elders stood up and started talking about our medicine wheel here. And all of you know this medicine wheel. Probably don't think of it as a medicine wheel. It's called Stonehenge. They consider Stonehenge a medicine wheel. It's laid out in the same directional sort of things. There are crystals. They put them next to the columns. I don't know how old they are. I didn't learn too much about it, but I was surprised when they started doing that teaching.
Because you know, I spoke of the headstone here in my notes, and it's considered a grid.
Yeah,
And but yet some indigenous people refer to it as a medicine wheel.
yep,
Okay.
yep. And there's not total agreement on any of this, obviously. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. Veronica, look. Look at how big this flower is.
It's like a satellite. You can just like connect to, you know.
Oh, it's a
Satellite.
Victrola. My
Wow.
hostess, she surprised me and left it here next to my computer before I started. And so I
It's a
was like,
beautiful
wow, look at
color.
that beauty. This is from her garden.
It's massive. It's bigger
I
than
know
my
it's as big as
face.
my head.
Yep,
It's a hibiscus. Yeah.
I'm gonna wear it right here.
where'd you go? What happened to Gentle Thunder? Oh.
You need to stop. Stop. You're gonna get a citation. Oh,
Oh
goodness
gosh.
me.
Well, you all, it's time to come to a close. So if no one else has anything they'd like to, even if it's not a question, if it's just a share that you have, yeah, if any of you have a share or just want to make a comment or anything. Yes,
I have
my
a
love.
share.
Yes.
I have a share. I have a new grandchild.
Oh.
Yay!
He was born yesterday,
Oh, wonderful.
Wow,
and he's my 9th grandchild.
Hey,
wow.
Wow.
I better catch up. I only have 4.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yay.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yay, Grandma. Thank you for that share.
Oh,
All right.
I didn't realize, here's a share. Up on my picture,
Yes.
that is the medicine wheel that I opened the pipe at last week. I didn't even realize that's what I had put up.
Let me see. Get out of the way. I can't see. Where is the medicine wheel?
Well, it's here and it's
Oh,
big.
I see part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all you can
I
see.
see one directional part of it.
Yeah, because it's pretty large.
Yeah, it's a pretty good size.
It is.
Pretty good size. Right on.
Gentle Thunder, are you going to be available for further stalking? Like the third week of the second weekend of July? Are you going to be back in your area?
So here's what's going on. Okay, so there's been a lot of detours and twists and turns and I was supposed to be at Mass Meditation Initiative in LA last weekend, but it got canceled. The second weekend of July, I was supposed to be in Lake Havasu, that got canceled. But where I am on my way to right now, my love, is Mount Shasta. So my gracious host here is hosting me tonight. Tomorrow night I'll be in San Francisco to sleep. And then Friday I will be on my way to Mount Shasta. And then on the 2nd, I have a sound journey in Jacksonville, Oregon.
Wow.
After that, my granddaughter's 4th birthday party is on July 6th. So I have to boogie back down in Murrieta for that, for sure. Then that night I have a sound journey in Vista. After that, I'm a free bird. I really don't have a plan. And because of one of my commitments in Arizona came to completion 3 weeks ago, I really don't have to go back to Arizona. I have everything I need with me in my car.
Okay. Your red pony.
Yeah, my red pony.
Because I was going to be in Arizona on that weekend of the 13th and 14th.
Oh, well, again, I don't know where I'm going to be. You know, I'm in the flow.
Okay.
I did have
we'll
a
flow.
I'm in the flow, sister, you know.
Right on.
So, I did have someone reach out to me that would like for me to go to Merced after Mount Shasta and go bless their farm. So I may do that. Again, just listening to spirit. If that's where I'm supposed to go, then it'll just fall into place, right? But outside of that, I don't have a plan because the rest of my journey went, I'm like, okay, so now what am I doing? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well,
Will I be back in Arizona? Maybe.
We
But
lock the doors.
we do. So Jim's going to be traveling as well. In August, we have a global drum circle on August 10th that we will be facilitating at Cielo Connection, Erica, just letting you know. That's global. That means all over the world. People are going to be syncing in with us with their drums, whether you're an individual by yourself or you want to get your community together. This is also a beautiful way to create a grid, believe it or not. This is also a form of a grid. When we've got different coordinates of people everywhere, and that vibration and frequency of the drum, I've been told by the ETs, when we sing, when we dance, when we pray, when we speak our light language, we are helping to strengthen the planetary earth grid.
Absolutely. And then mark
Mm.
down another one on August 25th is going to be another global drumming. And that's going to sit in Crestone, Colorado. And some of us will be going there. Hopefully Gentle Thunder will go with us. So that's gonna be-
Potentially I could right now. Yeah.
Chris is coming from New Zealand. He's going to go. Haley, who I did
What?
a lot with.
Christopher,
going. Yep.
Christopher, you're going to be here in August. Oh my. Right on.
Where are you, Chris?
Christopher.
He probably went to the loo.
Christopher is in New Zealand.
He looks quite frozen.
He
Yeah,
is frozen. All right. Well, yeah, yes.
No,
Zulma.
no, I just want to remind you that, you know, we're still on for September.
Yes,
sure.
Zulma has, so it's a really auspicious, you know, our connection. She was out in Arizona attending a myofascial conference. Her and I connected. We had a lovely soul bonding connection. And then she went off back to Rochester and she's brainstorming and saying, hey, would you be, if we brought you out here to New York, would you come? Hell yeah, let's do it. So we're working on a 3-day immersion, and to my knowledge, you're still wanting to invite other Indigenous peoples from New York area, and we're just going to collaborate and weave our medicines together out there. I've never been to New York. This could be quite exciting. I'm just open to it. You know, Spirit, before I left Maui, said it's time to step into your leadership role, and I have been doing that. At first, I was like, okay. But now I'm like, let's do it. Come on. And
Yeah.
Grey Wolf and I did a beautiful presentation for about 60 to 70 students from Phoenix, all high school students that were, what'd you call them? I'll call them holy rollers. Okay. We gave them
that
a
works.
whole nother perspective of spirituality. We gave them a whole nother, they
Yeah.
couldn't stop asking questions.
No.
Their leader said, we gotta go, they gotta go. You gotta stop asking these guys questions. But they were so wanting to expand and understand and all the knowledge. You know, we came with a whole different perspective. And one of the great questions was, and you did a thing on it on your Facebook page. It was about
did?
God.
Oh, yeah. Who is
What was-
my God? I think.
Yeah, who is your God? And I went, oh, okay, you can answer that one.
Yeah, she pointed at me, so I figured I had to take it.
Yeah, and you did a very amazing job of answering that question. And again, their minds were like, so yeah, definitely open to it. I'm going to be giving a presentation on Sunday at 3 o'clock at the Psychic Healing and Arts Fair. I'll be there all weekend offering intuitive readings and making myself available for those who would like to receive a private session with me, with us. See, I just got scolded. We were having this talk, me and my hostess today, about there is no I, there's only we. And I get, sometimes the I slips out and I get smacked down like, no. And so I have to correct myself. So anyways, Erica,
Yes, ma'am.
would you close us out in prayer, please?
I would just like to invite everybody to take a deep breath in together with a beautiful exhale, being thankful for this moment together. In this moment, I would like to give thanks for Jim and Gentle Thunder for creating this circle for all of us. I've been hearing the call as well to step into a space to share my leadership, and I felt the same sort of anxiety. But I know that our voices are so powerful and so necessary. I give thanks to the earth that nurtures us, giving thanks to our community and all of the communities that have brought forth this beautiful ripple that has really ignited this spark for us to really follow this path. I just want to say thank you to life, to each of us, and to this beautiful circle, that we may continue to unfold and blossom into this beautiful, great offering. And that all of the folks, all of the animals, and all of the land knows that our love is real and very genuine, and that we are showing up, and that we will be here to bring this support and this compassion, and that we may teach it to the elders, to the children, and to anybody who is curious, so that we can all learn the proper way to love and care for the earth through these teachings, so that she can continue to take care of us as we take care of her. I just give thanks, and I bless each and every one of you with love and gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful prayer. Thank you. Homitakuyasin to all our
Very good,
relations.
very nice one. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So if you all, for those of you who came on, not at the beginning, just know that Jim has been recording this, and he will be posting it on our Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And there are many other Wednesday Share Circle recordings that others of the council have also spoken to with different topics. So there's a beautiful library that we are forming on the YouTube channel.
Beautiful.
Yep, well said. And it's on our nonprofit, which 3 of us are part of here,
Mhm.
Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother. And we're at
Mhm.
SOTEM.org.
Mhm.
Chris is the
Website.
other one? Website, sorry, yeah, well.
The
yeah.
website.
So,
Yeah.
and Google Medicine Mountain, Wyoming, it is
Medicine Mountain.
definitely, it's little known and it's definitely a must-to destination.
Yeah, no, never heard.
No, it was just a freak
Huh.
spirit calling that led me there.
Beautiful.
There's an amazing dinosaur museum right next, an hour away.
Thank you, Zuma, for joining us from New York.
Thank
Mahalo nui
you.
loa, Veronica for joining us from San Diego, Erica from
Cottonwood
Sedona.
right now. Yeah, I'm close. I can see it from
Christopher
here.
from New Zealand. My hostess from the living room. Thank you for joining us. And I'll see you soon. Ahui ho. Love
Ahui ho
you.
kako.
Stop recording, Jim. Ahui ho.
Love you, Gentle Thunder.
Aloha.
Did you guys eat? Did you eat, Daddy? Did you eat? I don't think this new food or this food that was got for the cats is agreeing with her. She just threw up.